So, hello, hello, hello. Wishing everybody an awesome day. Here we go for another one of these Substack videos. 8th of September 2025. No trade calls, no recommendations, responsible own stuff. We're here for educational purpose only. So, I thought we'd take a little quick look at NVIDIA since a lot of people have been talking about this and the close below the 50-day moving average. Now, clearly, this is an important stock because of its weight in the indices, its weight in XLK, SMH, and a lot of the ETFs. So what's going on here? Now, I think rather than talking about the close below the 50-day moving average, which, by the way, we already had one, I think is that the fact that we already topped on NVIDIA, right? I think if you go back on the weekly, what you can see is that this was actually the fourth negative week in a row. But more importantly, what I would highlight was this action back on this week here, right? And as far as I'm concerned, that's where NVIDIA really topped. Now, if we put in a little bit of a range here, so put in that high that week and put in that low, what essentially happened is we managed to chop around. And again, unlikely it's going to top ahead of those earnings because everybody's got the earnings hopium. It's going to be up double digits overnight. It's free money. So, it's very unlikely to see that. And what indeed you do see is that into those earnings, we managed to clear the upside, take out upside stops. So weak shorts, we take out weak longs by clearing the downside of that range. And then into earnings, that's when, the real acceleration started. Now, going back into that 15-minute, what you can see is we had all that wheeling and dealing in the overnight session here. Then after those earnings, we came in first 15-minute opening range, shook weak players out, and then once that finished, we never regained even midpoint of that candle. So even if you were looking at the 50 back of that 15-minute candle, we came back up and then the down continued. So going forward, the way I would look at this is, and again, you can use that 50-day moving average, you can lose the 10-day on the weekly, but I think what you want to focus on is really that range that was set. And if the market isn't able to get back into that above that range, then ultimately it looks like it's a top that already a topping process, but that failure already happened. I think the mistake is to think that just because we may close back above the 50-day, all of a sudden it's bullish, right? I think what you want to look at is this is essentially going to be a little bit of a range, right? Any rally here, if the shorts remain in control into this 10-day, this 50-day, into the 50 back of this range here should get sold, right? Ideally. So it's more of an area. And again, the risk is, as we've seen on a lot of charts and things we've been discussing, is that there is an unwind of this whole move off those April lows. I think that's not in the cards yet. I think the first thing, even if you're looking at something like RSP, some of the other charts, is for a move back. This range is protecting a move back to the 2025 open. But bigger picture, if that happens with some kind of a catalyst, you see that this 50 back move, the way we would look at this is, A to B off those April lows, is that we tried to press higher and we couldn't with repeated failures at that B. And so that usually what that means is that 50 back long that people would usually look at in terms of fib extensions is a much weaker 50 back long, and you'd expect that to break and for the even if the up does happen, it doesn't resolve with a pure hold of the 50 back. It tends to resolve inside the 50 to 61.8 range. So that's what I would be looking at going forward. Keep in mind that a lot of people have talked about this too. You have those weak seasonals in September being the weakest month of the year. You've got weak seasonals into quad witching. You have weak seasonals the week after quad witching, even though you might get markup into the end of the quarter. But, that whole seasonal is a little bit heavy. Now, also, we're going into more data, with that CPI, with the FOMC. But I have a feeling that unless there's a major, major surprise, I think in terms of general risk sentiment, the market will probably be a lot more reactive to what happens on this on the Supreme Court deciding if they want to hear the case on tariffs. It probably will resolve, but that's still something that's going to be there. But that's the way I would be looking at it. I wouldn't be so focused on the 50-day. I would be looking at it more as a zone, and clearly those are the downside targets. Okay. Hope this short video was useful. Wishing everybody all the best. Talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye bye.